Oh shit, here we go again. Oh shit, here we go again. JPEGMAFIA is a producer, rapper, singer even, who has been at it quite a few years now, but we all know that he really had his breakthrough moment last year at the very start of last year with the album Veteran. He certainly had an audience before Veteran for sure, but it was very minor, and it's pretty clear that Veteran put that guy on the map. An album that really has only gotten more popular over time, in fact. It started off, with a lot of buzz and hype and momentum behind it, but I just feel as the year went on, more and more people were really showing their love for it. It was really impressive to see how an artist can just go from pretty much nothing to a huge contender for rap album of the year for many people. I always like seeing stuff like that, to be honest, even though you will remember I was a fan of the album. I do want to at least take a little bit of credit for saying that from the start, well, not from the very start, but from when he started to get really popular, I did see something in him. I wasn't writing him off as someone who I just thought was never going to make anything good, because he proved himself over a course of the year on features, the Denzel Curry track that he did, the track that he did with Kenny Beats I thought was great, and then this year he was on the Injury Reserve album. I thought he added something really unique and interesting to that track. So yes, I have seen something in the guy, and I did think he was going to turn it around one day and make something that I would genuinely like. I just felt that people were busting a nut a little too prematurely with Veteran. Basically what I'm saying there is I just didn't see what everyone else was seeing in that album. However, what I couldn't predict was how quickly I would turn around on Peggy, and we're only 18 months after Veteran, and I think I have done a turnaround on Peggy. All My Heroes, Cornballs is great. I think this is genuinely a very good album. This album to me feels so much more refined than Veteran, and I know people like that chaotic nature of Veteran, that kind of all over the place wildness, and I like that in my music too. I just wasn't liking it on that particular album, but for me, I just think this approach that Peggy's going for on this album is just so much more enjoyable to listen to. Peggy's really experimenting so much with his production ideas, with his singing throughout the album too. There are so many little random segues within tracks going into completely different beats, and it's not like they're beat switches necessarily. They are just little transitions, and so many of them as just so damn smooth. From an instrumental perspective of this album, if I were to just look at the beats, they are just wonderful. There are so many fantastic beats here. I'm just in awe of how he was able to come up with so many of them as well. One of the best, easily, by far. I ain't arguing with anyone on this one. Fucking Grimy Waifu. Oh, that lovely instrumental just sticks with me forever. Got it playing in my head right now as we speak. It's so wonderful. It's like, who invited Finesse to this shit, man? It just totally reminds me of Endless Summer, if you've ever listened to that album. It's such a chilled out moment on the album, and somehow it comes directly after JPEGMAFIA type B, which is completely all over the place and in your face and wild, just like what you were getting on Veteran. And somehow that swift transition is perfect between both tracks. And I just don't know how it is. I cannot explain how that managed to be pulled off as well as it is. Because the JPEGMAFIA type B comes out of nowhere. It's the fourth track on the album. It's not really connecting the dots to any other tracks, really. It is just a JPEGMAFIA type B, as the title suggests. And I don't know how it fits well, but it just seems to. It's little things like this that make me realize how talented he is as a producer, being able to just make these decisions and making them fit. There are some random moments and random decisions that he makes on the album that I think probably could have been tidied up just ever so slightly, but there aren't really that many when you take it into context of the 18 tracks that we are given here. Post-Verified Lifestyle is being one of those for me, just that like random spoken word little bit from the female vocalist. I'm not entirely sure who it is. It might just be a sample from something. It just does kind of interrupt the track, but once that goes and Peggy's rapping on the track, I think it works really well. But that is just one example where what he's trying to throw in feels just kind of there. But it's not like I can use that for the entire album because everything else just really seems to fit in its place so damn well. Even Beta Male Strategies, for example, which isn't really one of my favourite tracks here, but I do really like the production ideas that he's doing with the hypnotic looped sample that plays over and over. The beat transitions into something completely different, but then by the end of the song, that looped sample comes back, it returns out of nowhere. And I think upon certain ears, like certain people listening could think of that as being like, nah, that just doesn't make sense, and I could totally get that. But for me, I think it's a moment where it astounds me how he manages to make it work. You've got the really weird, wonky production on the title track, which is another favourite of mine on the album here. I think the beat on this is just fantastic. The little blink that comes through every so often on the PTSD track is a nice little touch, I think, as well. It sounds like something that came from some kind of video game. If I was... Look, if I was educated in video games, I would probably be able to pinpoint what it is, but my video game knowledge is shit. But what I do have that you don't have is wrestling knowledge, and I don't think I didn't catch that Trish status line, dude. That Trish status line was fucking great. The reference to Sami Zayn too was pretty funny. In fact, that entire track with the Sami Zayn reference, he references like Kevin James, Kevin Hart. I do like that little thing he's got going on there. I just really love the nerdiness of Peggy shining through when he makes references like this. One of the best is actually not even on this album, with the Call Me Maybe cover that he did, where the entire song has the Hell in a Cell match between Undertaker and Shawn Michaels playing throughout the whole thing. Shit cracks me up, man, and it somehow fits. I don't know how it fits, but it just does. Kind of makes Peggy a bit of a unique name at the moment, being able to make these references and making these funny lines that come out of nowhere, and it just adds something to his personality that most other rappers I don't think do, which he did actually showcase on Veteran, which I probably didn't give him enough credit for when I did that review, but I just think with the production here as well, kind of being all over the place and random, it matches his random references a lot better. That incel line as well, where he says how they go from Anne Hathaway to Ann Coulter, is the one that cracks me up. The best line on the whole thing though is the one from Feel the Frail, where he says, I'm afraid, it's easy A, I'm feeling framed. That's such a good line, man. References to Emma Stone films will always, always, always get the praise from me. And the singing across this track too is really, really strong. Like the hook on this thing is one of the best on the whole album. Might be my favorite track on the album too. If it's good, then it's good. Break it down, the shit is out of my head. Oh man, that's so good. It sticks in my head so easily, and it is actually a moment on the album I feel like he probably could have utilized just a little bit more throughout. Like he probably could have done more of these, like on the opening track as well with the hook. That is a track that grew on me so much with more listens. Thot Tactics 2 with the I wanna rock your world refrain that I think is really sticky and really catchy. It just really showcases the insane amounts of talent that this man has at this point, who's able to display all of this versatility in one album, and it just all comes together so well. The way he takes you on a journey with this thing, with these random little transitions, like I've already said, the beat switches taking you into completely different emotions and feelings, it is just so damn impressive. It's like a complete weird odyssey of what's going on in JPEGMAFIA's mind. You've got the hyperactive, over-the-top beats, and then you've got these wonderful, lovely, tranquil moments like on Buttermilk, Jesus type beat. Another funny title on the album of many titles that are just so funny to me. And even on that track too, with a very tranquil, ambient type beat, He's throwing in these little skips too that interrupt the beat, these weird vocal things that get thrown in that kind of like interrupt the mood and stuff. It is really interesting that he opts to go for that. Even in the calmest moments, he has to throw in little bits of chaos, and it is really interesting to think about why he does that and what's the purpose, what's he doing here with his craft. These almost ADHD type qualities that this album has really makes it his own and just shows how unique Peggy is at the moment, and no one else really is out here attempting to do this type of thing, I don't think. But yeah, I've been incredibly positive throughout the video. I mentioned a couple of things throughout that are kind of misses for me personally. I guess I may as well bring up the closing track too while we're on that. I don't think it's a particularly strong closer, honestly. In fact, funnily enough, it is the one track I think you can liken most to his previous work. And of course, I'm not the biggest fan of that, so of course that would mean that this track ends up being my least favourite. I just feel like every other track on the album had something completely unique to offer, and it just felt really strange that the album ends up closing on the one track that really didn't sound all that unique. He's rapping on this track, which is definitely something that I think some Peggy fans would have wanted more of on this album if they were disappointed with what they heard. But is he saying anything noteworthy? Is there any substance to his lyrics? I mean, when I'm reading through it, I don't see it really. At the end of the day, it is just one weak track amongst so many fantastic ones here. I haven't even touched on every track here, but I feel as though I've mentioned so many qualities that kind of overlap on tracks like Prone and stuff like that. There is a no scrubs interpolation on the album too, which is pretty funny. It just adds to that charisma that he's got going for him, I think. And one last thing I did want to mention as well, I know this review's probably been going on a little bit too long at this point, but this was something I think is minor, but I think it adds something to the overall picture of the album. And that is the "You Think You Know Me" that he throws in as a producer tag on many of the tracks. Obviously a reference to WWE once again. But something he does with it on this album is he manipulates it to fit the vibe of the tracks and to fit the flow of some of the tracks too. It's not just the same on every track that he has it in. And I just think that's something that's really creative about Peggy's production chops. I know it's very minor, but I think it is something that showcases his attention to detail. Like even something as small as that, he has to change and make it fit the track. And I just really commend him for that. It's the small things sometimes, you know, and I think that is a small thing that showcases how unique he is as a producer right now. To the point where I think this is the type of album that'll make other producers in the hip-hop world kind of turn their heads a little bit and think, okay, we gotta step up our game. He's affiliated with a lot of names now, you know, Denzel Curry, Injury Reserve, Kenny Beats, you know, James Blake was even getting involved in the promotion of this album. I just think these are the types of people that are gonna look at this album and think, yeah, you know what, we've got to really amp things up. And that's why I'm going to go 8.5 out of 10, because for me, Peggy really stepped things up here. I think this is a really great album. Hope you like this as much as I did. I've seen people even liking it more than I did as well. So that's really cool to see. Let me know in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already. That would be great. Have a good day. Goodbye. Oh yeah.